Chelsea came into the game shattered after losing the FA Cup final only 3 days before. They were missing players, managed by the youth team coach or something. It's the perfect storm, wasn't it? Not winning at the Bridge is etched into our DNA. We weren't awful, just a bit like a newborn baby in a steakhouse. Toothless. Yeah, I know. Thank God Arsenal splattered West Ham. Otherwise, we'd already be gone. The reality is there are two shocking teams at the bottom, and then there's us and Spam, squabbling over who gets to be the last rat off the sinking ship. Christian Romero was praised for staying with our ailing squad, but he actually fucked off to Argentina over the weekend to cheer his beloved Belgrano in a final against River Plate. My captain. Meanwhile, Spurs are still studying Maddison's non-penalty against Leeds frame by frame, along with every other diabolical VAR decision. A couple more last night, inevitably. But every club can make a feature-length film about their own brushes with this most heinous of football innovations. We'll have a chat about the lack of talent in the squad and the absence of good kids coming through. The academy is just another dysfunctional Spurs joke. In a forlorn attempt to cheer things up ahead of the crunchiest of crunch games on Sunday, we'll have a bit of Room 101 and Feet of Clay. Strap in. It's nice.
Nice one, Cyril.
So, welcome to Nice One, Cyril. I'm Simon Lipson, 2 times singles champion of the Drive Lawn Tennis Club in Edgware. One of life's winners. Spurs fans for 56 years can never be winners. Plus, Spurs journalistic legend Judy Welch, who ruminated this morning and now feels a lot better. Kev Acott, who tried to give us the best possible chance against Chelsea by predicting a calamitous defeat. But Spursiness defeated us all. And Lee Brown, thespian, wordsmith and raconteur, whose foul-mouthed tirade on our WhatsApp group last night was pure art. Welcome all. Now then, where do we start with this fucking team? West Ham lost to Newcastle. They were pretty much taken apart for most of that game. Probably not what we all expected, Lee. But I guess it kind of left us needing just a point. It's the just that kills you, isn't it? Just a point from Chelsea, who were knackered and dispirited and missing players, all the usual stuff. And, of course, we blew it.
Yeah, you sort of put me in my place, actually, the morning after, because I went for a run with my Spurs top on and I asked if it was childish, and a few of you sort of chipped in and said, not only is it childish, but you've gone too early. And you were right. I fell into the trap that a lot of people did, thinking 1 point, not even we could fuck this up. And of course, we haven't yet, but there's room. But I was just saying I've got, unfortunately, because of where I live, I've got quite a lot of friends and family that are West Ham, and it's been like, I think it's sort of at arm's length. Probably a couple of months ago, you could kind of have some digs at each other, but it's gone quieter and quieter and quieter, because as we get nearer to the crunch, I think we're both kind of feeling sorry for each other. And I'm at a sort of point where I'm thinking right now that even if we manage to avoid this drop, that there's no cause for celebration here or sticking the boot in. We both had shambolic, shameful seasons because of our owners, and it's there's going to be a lot of bloodletting to come, I think.
Yeah. A lot of people saying, look, you can't celebrate if we stay up. And I'm thinking, well, you're not really celebrating staying up, are you? You're just reveling in the relief, because this season has just been so stressful, and the stress continues. Julie, where do we start? I don't know where we bloody start with all this. It wasn't a terrible performance, actually. It turns out, believe it or not, our XG was whatever the fuck that was higher, much higher than Chelsea's, and yet we still contrived to lose. I don't know. Is there anything about that performance last night that makes you think, you know what? Yeah, we don't have to fear Everton. We can get the point we need.
If I was sort of being completely detached, I'd say, well, I thought we would probably be beaten by Chelsea because although they were obviously coming off the back of the FA Cup, they actually do have a better squad. And although they're organised by the gym teacher at the moment, they just have better players. It didn't exactly make me feel incredibly cheerful, but at least Richie did the business. My only hope is that we do stay up because the owners are more likely to sell if they've got a fattened turkey, as somebody else pointed out on our WhatsApp group.
Julie mentioned Richie there. For my money, he's the problem, not the solution, along with Muani. Let's focus first on Richie. To me, he looks exhausted, leaden-footed. Maybe he's carrying an injury. I don't know. Yes, he scored a goal, the right place, right time, bit like the Liverpool goal, wasn't it? Similar. He found himself free as a bird at the far post. But honestly, you're not going to win a lot of matches. You're not going to score a lot of goals with Richie as your centre forward.
No, and I think last night was, apart from the goal, was probably his worst performance, actually. He was just, toothless and impotent and running around a lot, as he always does. It's not. You can't accuse him of lack of effort, but you can accuse him of lack of quality. I don't know whether he ever did have it. If he did, he's lost it. So we're reliant on, I don't know what we're relying on to score goals, really. I mean, I think Muani was terrible last night. He started off great. I mean, I think I put a thing in the chat. The first 10 minutes, we looked good. Porro looked good. Muani looked good. So it may have been my fault for actually saying that almost out loud.
You tempted fate there.
I think I did. But Jesus, I don't know. Yes, I agree. We look better with Maddison, who may be our only hope of creativity, really. I don't know. I feel sorry for Richarlison. I do. I sort of hated him during the match last night, actually. I did hate him. But overall, I don't. I just feel sorry for him. He's lost whatever he had.
Yeah. Well, look, I couldn't agree more. Lee, let's, oh God, I hate to do this, but let's focus on Muani for a second. As Kev said, he did start off quite well. He looked quite energetic. He got round his man once or twice. Absolutely no quality at the end of it, of course. Not unlike Tell, who looked tricky and, quite nippy, full of intent, but there's just nothing at the end of it. So we've got two wingers who are producing nothing. Let's focus on Muani. Should he, I mean, I know we've only got one match left. Should he ever wear the fucking shirt again?
No, I mean, he's going to be part of my Room 101 later on, so I'll leave the front line to that chat. But for him in particular, I think he sort of characterises this team, really. We at the beginning, when I suppose there's not that much pressure as you start the match, they look kind of reasonably confident. But then as soon as a couple of things start to go against us, he just folds up and goes missing. And he's got no end product. Every time he gets the ball, he passes to the opposition. There's a couple of times, as you sort of alluded to there, Simon, where he seemed to get the ball and break away and run away, make some nice runs. But you always knew that wherever he got to, as soon as he got into a position where he could make a decent pass, he would either sky it or hit one of the defenders. There's never any composure there or any quality in that cross, and that's what we got him in for. I mean, who in their right mind is going to pay 70, 80 million for him?
Julie, I think Muani was a panic loan, wasn't he, at the beginning of the season? But you still thought, do you know what? He's played for France 50 times. He's played in a World Cup final. Big teams have had him on their books. You'd think you're going to get something out of him. In his defence, I don't think he's a right winger. But what is he? He's not a finisher, doesn't hold the ball up, doesn't really do much if he gets past his man and doesn't often get past his man. What the hell is he?
It's hard to say. Wingers, on the whole, are not as good at decision-making as, let's say, proper strikers. They just run in a straight line, basically. His end touch is poor. As we've said before, good CV. But if he'd been properly scouted, I just can't see that he would have ever been included in the side. I can't see what he does. I can see the point of Tell. Again, not first class by any means. But basically, the front three that we're having to use, all of them, their execution isn't good. Their decision-making isn't great. Richie's at least got some kind of spatial awareness. He knows where to be, even if he doesn't know what to do at the end of it. But I just can't see Muani. I can't see why he's been so talked up in the past. It was an absolutely disastrous inclusion when they got hold of him in a panic. Just the most pointless player that I've seen for a long time.
It's interesting, isn't it, that managers seem to think they know something about this guy that the rest of us don't know or haven't seen. And so we had Tudor saying, look, he's a great player, and I'm going to keep fucking playing him till he shows he's a great player. And it looks a bit like De Zerbi's coming with the same approach. Look, I just know this kid can play. He can't. This is a horrible experiment that's gone terribly wrong, and we can't afford to have, to wait for him to do something so that the managers can be proved right. Look, Kev, let's have a little chat about the goals. Any goal we concede feels terribly disappointing, and you can find all sorts of reasons for letting them in. The second goal, Muani gave it away, sort of a blind, stupid pass, and you knew we were in trouble at that point. The first goal didn't look like the guy hit it that hard, and Kinski seemed to go late. And we've been talking him up quite a lot recently. I don't know whether there's a finger of blame to be pointed there. He did go late, but when you saw that shot from different angles, it seemed to have the most peculiar flight on it. And it was almost as though Kinski was ready to kind of catch it, and then it moved at the very last minute and got away from him. But still, it was disappointing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm not sure what happened. I don't know whether he was, he couldn't quite see what was happening. He definitely went late. I think there was an odd trajectory to the ball as well. I mean, the other aspect is how many bloody long shots have gone past whoever our goalkeeper has been this year. We give other teams space to do that, and they're decent Premier League players, and they're going to score a lot of the time if we're not closing them down. I can't quite picture it in my mind. I couldn't watch any of the highlights or anything. I'm just remembering it from watching it at the time. He shouldn't have had that opportunity, the Chelsea player, to take that shot, and that has been such a story of the last 2 seasons actually. Just awful. And I'm sort of changing the subject a bit. We might be going on to this, but one of the things that really got me about last night was their shit. Chelsea are one of the worst Chelsea teams for many years, and it just made me think that's true of football. Arsenal have won the league. They're a mediocre team. They've won the league, rightly, because they're better than everyone else, probably. We're at a real... I never remember which one's Zenith and which one's Nadir. And Nadir, when it comes to quality in football, and yet we still lose to these mediocre teams. I mean, that's been particularly the story at home, I think, this year. Mm-hmm. Poor teams, poor quality beating us. It's so annoying.
Well, as I was saying on our WhatsApp group this week, all we need is a point from these 2 games. Yet one is away at Chelsea, where we never win, and one is at home, where we never win. and rarely draws. So this is not the easiest run-in of all time. We'll talk about that shortly because we've got Everton and Spam have got Leeds, and that's no easy task for them either. I want to have a little chat, Lee, about our friend Performative Porro. Now, again, as Kev said, he seemed to start actually quite well. And then suddenly Cucurella and others were getting in acres and acres of space or just going past him. And it certainly reminded me of one of our biggest problems is he can't defend. He doesn't offer enough in attack. We know he's got ability, but he doesn't offer enough. I'm not convinced he should be in the fucking team. Yet lots of people talk about him as though, he's one of our quality players. I don't get it.
I wonder because he was bought, wasn't he, with him being a wing back in mind, and so was Udogie, and systematically, kind of he fits Conte's style better than I think he does this kind of style of play. That's why he's much more attack minded, and I think positionally he doesn't really get himself in the right places. But he's got a great cross on him sometimes. Not all the time. So he also lacks consistency. And I'm starting to see what some of you have been saying for a while, because I've up to now, I've kind of backed him. I do think I've always thought he's been a quality player, but he's looked it simply because the rest of our lot have just been so abject. And now we're starting to see that he just really isn't that good. And we need someone who fits that position properly. But that probably will, if we go down, maybe we'll get shot of him. I don't know, but that it's one of many areas that need to be overhauled. I don't think he's our worst player by any stretch, but he's not that good as.
It's a low bar, that, Lee.
Yeah.
It's a very low bar. I was listening to RDZ, Julie, just before we started recording. Some of his comments last night. I have to say I've got a great admiration for him as a man manager, as a psychologist. I think he's done brilliantly in that respect. He's sort of made players who are absolutely shit be slightly less shit, and he's created a bit of a team. We look more like a team, but clearly he's lumbered with the fact that we got no fucking players of any quality. But he did say last night that the energy changed when he made the substitutions. So on came Sarr and Maddison and Spence. And the energy changed. And for the last 20 or so minutes, we were really going at them without producing a huge amount. We'll come on to the little controversial moments in a minute. It begs the question, is he going to start with these players against Everton? Or is he going to go ultra defensive? He's going to bring in all of the cloggers and the tacklers? Because never seen that work for us.
Actually, I'm completely lost about this. I don't know what works. I don't think he knows what works. Nothing works long enough, because basically, the players, okay, they can look good for 20 minutes, but they don't last. I don't think it's an energy thing. They just sort of bust a gut because they feel they've got to for 20 minutes when, they raise our hopes and everything. We don't have good players. It's a bit like, in the war, in the Second World War, everybody had to sort of do wonderful things with turnips and swede, make exciting dishes out of stuff like that. It's a bit like sort of cookery during the war. We got these inferior ingredients, and you sort of make the best of them. But, you just want a bit of caviar, don't you? A bit of asparagus and smoked salmon. There's no real quality player left, I don't think. Mickey, okay, looked good at some point in the distant past. But when you think back, and some of these players make Vinnie Samways look like a giant, for instance. Naeem, God, what a player! It's just, it's beyond belief, really. Anybody who was any good or did look promising, they've just totally deteriorated. You can't blame them completely because, everything that's happened has been so shit. But at the moment, it's a bit like when someone's dying. of some horrible disease. Every little breakthrough, you think, oh yeah, it's going to be all right, and it's not. I think we're just dying a slow death. Sorry.
Yeah. Listen, first of all, congratulations on a metaphor of the season. Carrots, turnips, stew, lovely. And it kind of sums up who we are, loaded carrots and turnips. How does De Zerbi spin gold from that shit? Let's have a little chat about a couple of those controversial incidents. So we had the Delap trying to decapitate Spence quite deliberately. He looked at him all the way in. He looked at him and snapped an elbow out there. And then we had this strange kind of non-penalty incident. Was it Van der Ven getting fouled? Yeah, some arcane technicality. The ball wasn't in flight. I don't know what it was. Again, it looks like, VAR has conspired to defeat us. But inevitably, it becomes a talking point.
Yeah, and it's so difficult trying to sort of untangle the two, our lack of quality and the terrible refereeing and the appalling use of VAR. I think we can get distracted by the terrible refereeing, like you say. I think we're not good enough. Some terrible decisions have gone against us, and this also comes back to the injuries. We have been bloody unlucky with injuries, but ultimately, this is a team that's been neglected for so long, for decades. Really, a squad that's been neglected, and the lack of quality, is not about VAR and it's not about anything else. It's fundamentally that the squad is not good enough. Who would I keep next year? Ideally, Maddison. That's it. If any of the others choose to go, either whether we stay up or not, Maddison's the only one. And I just want to say he wasn't entirely convincing before his injury. He never quite did what we were hoping he would do, but still, way, way above anything else that we've got. So it's just, the VAR thing. I mean, that was an appalling. The wrestling in the penalty area at corners. They've got to do something about that for next season. It's absolutely appalling.
It is. Just quickly on Maddison, it's noticeable, isn't it, Lee, that now he's come back into the side. It's that here's a bloke who can control a football. Here's a bloke who can find a pass. He can look up, all that stuff. We'd forgotten that, hadn't we? Going back to what I was saying to Julie, we've got Everton on Sunday. Everything hinges on this match. We're either staying up or we're going down. It's just, it's black and white. Obviously, largely dependent on what Spam do as well. But clearly, that starting 11 wasn't good enough. We looked better when those three players came on. There are no other options, are there? I mean, you look at that bench last night. What the hell has he got to play with?
No, and I think that's why we play Muani as well, because we just don't have any options out there. Who else can you bring on? So we're just kind of, I mean, he's what he's doing, I think, which is quite, common sense, is just talking his players up all the time, trying to instill confidence in them. But in reality, we all know the truth. It's pretty low bar, as you're saying, talking about Maddison, who's comes in feeling like he's going to be our Superman, but in reality, we try to replace him with Morgan Gibbs-White because he's too hot and cold and gets injured all the time. So there's a lot of, we're just trying to find something that works. And I think at the moment, cast my mind back to a point you made earlier on, really, but I think the team picks itself. It's going to be the same team we've been playing, because I think he just wants that consistency, because they're more familiar with each other. There's nothing more to it than that. At least they're sort of round pegs in round holes. They're just not very good pegs.
Yeah, it's very well put. Julie, let's talk about our captain, our esteemed World Cup winning captain, Christian Romero. Now, there was a lot of talk on social media this week saying, he's staying with the squad. And I'm thinking, he's the fucking captain. What do you think he's going to go off? He's the captain. He earns 250 grand a week. He's under contract. What do you mean he's staying with the squad? Have we got to praise him for staying with the squad? And by the by, he didn't stay with the squad. He pissed off to Argentina over the weekend. It strikes me that making him captain was a misstep. I suppose this is hindsight talking, but he was never captain material. He's let us down a few times. He's certainly saved us a few times as well, but it's the lack of consistency. It's that standing on the ball and nothing happening stuff. And we know he's off, almost certainly. I just wonder, I'm not sure Danso is the greatest player in the world. But I actually think, here we are in the trenches, whether Danso actually is the right man for the job.
Well, first of all, Romero, I think he was a good choice at first because he had that sort of buccaneering quality, the swashbuckling quality that seemed to be necessary at the time. And certainly last season, when it came to it, he did do the business in Bilbao. He was a leader then. But there's all that, as we say with Porro, there's all that sort of posturing, performative shit. He standing on the ball, looking around and stuff, it's so... He's demonstrating, there's nobody running in position that I can pass to. Nobody was sort of answering what he was asking. He's certainly not the kind of captain you want because, everybody's so pissed off with him. He sort of decided to go his own path quite early on this season, led Mickey astray as well. Neither of them were having Thomas Frank. Neither of them were having Igor Tudor, and then you got the knock on the knee or whatever it was. Just sort of that's it. He's gone. I think it's absolutely typical that he's buggered off to Argentina because why wouldn't he? He's completely washed his hands of being a Spurs player. Danso, lovely bloke. Not absolutely top drawer. He is a typical Spurs signing. If we were, bobbling around in mid-table at the moment, yeah, great, just the guy. We are no longer a top six club. He was never a top six player, and that I'm afraid that goes for. Well, even Maddison now. I mean, the thing about Maddison is that he was always a bit of a showy ponce, wasn't he? But if he'd had better support in midfield, somebody who could kind of complement his undoubted qualities, then things would be different. But it's the same old Spurs, cheap, opportunistic, and now, to mix the metaphors, we are reaping the whirlwind. And furthermore, it doesn't give me any satisfaction, but this is exactly everything that we've been saying since, I don't know, autumn last year. This is what was going to happen, and it has.
So can I throw a metaphor in or a cliche? The trap door, it was open for a long time, and you kept thinking, can't possibly miles clear of all this shit. And we seem to be marooned on 29 points forever. We just couldn't get a point, win a game. And suddenly, from being 13 points clear of West Ham, we were behind them. And it seemed to happen in a flash. We'll deconstruct so many issues at the club, players, management, hierarchy, during the closed season when we know where we are a bit. But one of the things, Kev, I was mentioned a bit earlier was this lack of quality in the squad. We lost players left, right and centre, and key players as well. Doesn't help. But I'm stunned at the lack of youth available to come into this side. I did a little bit of research. You know me. I spend hours and hours researching stuff for the show. Anyway, I was going through some of the youth players we've had over the last 10 years. None of them, bar Noni Madueke, and we didn't even keep him, have done anything. We had people talking about buying Parrott back. I mean, come on. We got rid of him for a reason. He's not good enough. Divine, who was going to be the next big thing, we're selling him to Preston North End for $4.5 million. We've loaned out some goodish players. Vuskovic clearly looks like he's something. Lancashire might turn into something. And of course, Julie, Mikey Moore. But look at these other names. Takai, Velis, Yang, Phillips. They're not going to do anything. It's just a churn, Kev, isn't it, of young players. Bring them in. Maybe one will turn into something. There'll be a Harry Kane. But truthfully, I don't see any kind of joined up thinking with regard to our youth. And sadly, it means we're constantly buying players. And as Julie said, we're buying mediocrity.
Yeah, I was watching an interview, just sort of came up on Twitter a couple of days ago. It's one of the Wolves coaches talking about every time they produce someone good, they're just taken from Wolves by bigger clubs. And there's nothing they can do about it. And they can invest years in players and then bang, they're off to Chelsea or City or Liverpool or whatever. I mean, I wonder if there's a little bit of that for us, that we don't pay, we don't encourage young players to stay. I think the loan situation it feels like it's been mishandled. You know, you would love to have had Mikey Moore, even on the bench coming on last night, or Lancashire, or just to bring some fresh legs on and fresh ideas on. So, and we've been hearing, particularly this season, about those three that you mentioned doing so well. Okay, doing so well for sort of lower league clubs or for Scottish league clubs, but still, these are clearly good players who could come on and make a difference. So we're not producing them in the first place. I think when we do produce them, they get maybe stolen from us, and we're mishandling loans to a degree, and so we're stuck with Muani and Tell and Richie and no alternative. Really.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, we will labour this to death over the summer because there's so many issues to deal. Oh, hello. What's wrong? You're giving me a funny sign, Julie.
No, I wasn't giving
what
you
are you
the
doing?
finger. It's just that there was a lovely there was a lovely piece in Monday's Times. I was trying to attract your attention as you were blathering on, Simon.
I was blathering. You've got to just let me complete the blather.
No.
She's a stern mistress.
Well, I remember this, before I go completely senile, there was a lovely piece about Toby Alderweireld in Monday's Times. The interview was done by Tom Allnutt, who is very good about Spurs, unlike Alison Rudd. So Tom Allnutt asked Toby, if Spurs called, would you answer? And Toby said, yeah, for sure. It's up to someone else.
Do it in his accent. Do it in his accent.
No, you do it, Simon. You're the accent guy. No, I can't do it. It's up to someone else to decide if I have the qualities and about the right position. I would do everything in my power. I think I have good connections with the fans and the club. I know the club. I played there for 6 years. If Tottenham need help, I'm there. You can do the last line, can't you, Simon?
No. Look, here's the thing. Well, it's a good point, though, isn't it? There was a lot of talk, wasn't there, when we were, we had the hapless Tudor in there, and before that, Frank. Bring in some Spurs people, bring them in. They know the club, they know the DNA, and I think we kind of concluded, well, what is the DNA? Do we even know anymore? But I think you can make a good argument for bringing in somebody like Toby Alderweireld to, I don't know, help out the defenders, help them work on their ball control, their kicking, stuff like that. And there are other ex-players who could come in and I don't know, bring something to the party that at the moment it's just a load of faceless people who don't know who they are.
I think Alderweireld's proposition was that he comes in a bit like some of the European models where he'd come in and be not quite a director of football, but somebody who has a kind of influence over our approach and our ethos and the way we conduct ourselves as a club, which I would say, yes, people like him would be great. I think we do need to do that. Vertonghen, who I'm sure will do a great job. because our approach to everything, and I mean not just like the youth that you were talking about, the players, management, everything feels so scattergun. It's almost like we've got a handful of rabbit droppings and one of them's a chocolate raisin. You've got to try and pick it out somewhere and make sure, hopefully, you eat the right one,
I feel quite nauseous now, but well done. You're challenging. You're challenging Julie on the metaphor front. That's great. Tell you what, let's move on a bit. Stupid tweets. I've got a couple of crackers for you. Here's one. It says, by the way, I wanted to just point out one well-known Spurs pundit was talking this week about this being Chelsea's real cup final. This is their real cup final. They don't care about winning the FA Cup. Their real cup final is beating Spurs. And I thought, really? But he did also refer to damp squids. So I'm not sure how much credence we can give to his opinion. Let's have a look at some tweets. When we stay up, I want our fans to never forget how other fan bases have been behaving this season. Everyone wants us to go down. Everyone. We have no friends. It's only us. If you're not Tottenham, you're the enemy. What are you, 7? Idiot. Here's another one. Sunday, this is actually my favourite stupid tweet, possibly of all time. Sunday needs to be the worst atmosphere in football history. Win, draw or lose. Bags of piss and shit thrown at the players, etc. They need to know that this is not acceptable. That's my kind of fan. He's going to come armed with bags of piss and shit and he's going to try and hit. He could probably hit Richy because Richy can't move. Now then, it's time for Room 101. Julie, what have you got this week?
Well, I'm just going to take a blast from the past, basically. The late Brian Glanville, simply because, he died last year. Hooray. He was the journalist who was so mean to me
Did you just say hooray? Someone died?
Yes.
Dear, oh dear.
Yes. So he was a journalist who was so mean to me when I first started reporting football, and he carried on being mean to every other female who reported football. And a photo of him flashed up on my Facebook yesterday, and I thought, oh God, he's still there. And so, I just would like to put him into Room 101 just to make sure, he really is dead, because he was horrid.
Okay, well, charming stuff from Julie right there. Kev?
I had a couple. The first one was going to be nice Arsenal fans, because I can't cope with nice Arsenal fans. It just makes me feel really weird. But I'm actually going to go for the word iconic, which is misused everywhere across society. But the football-related bit of this is that I've seen our new stadium referred to several times recently, actually, as the iconic Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's not iconic at all. And I was thinking, so what is Tottenham related? And I think the Shelf was an iconic terracing area. I think, within our little world, the Shelf was iconic. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is not iconic in any way. And this may be part of my sort of prejudice at the moment against that stadium and against all that the club stands for. But yeah, so basically the use of the word iconic, but also nice Arsenal fans who I hate.
Yeah, it's troubling, isn't it? Nice Arsenal fans. I've got a mate who's a nice Arsenal fan, and he's very sympathetic, genuinely so, to our plight. And I'm not really handling that very well. Julie, you've got your finger up again. What's going on?
It just occurred to me. You see, where I live, I'm equidistant between Blackheath and Greenwich. There are 2 butchers, one in Blackheath, one in Greenwich, and the Greenwich one is much nicer. But the bloke who has the butchers in Greenwich is an Arsenal fan, and so I can't go there. I can't face his sympathy anymore, and so I shall have to go to the Blackheath butcher, which who is inferior. That's all I wanted to say.
With respect, do think we've had the butcher story before.
Yeah, all right.
I may be wrong.
No, you're never
but-
wrong, Simon.
but I'm never wrong. And look, it was even better in the retelling. Lee, what have you got?
I'm going to go for our forward line because there are many reasons apart from them just being criminal players. They're inept, they're insipid, they're useless. They're basically players that have been put together for a variety of different managers. There's an old saying that a camel is a horse designed by a committee, and that's just basically what our front three are, isn't it, really? They're just... They're not fit for any fucking purpose. So put them in there, please.
Stick him in there, and I'm absolutely behind that. I've got a couple of things. They're not really Spurs related. Well, they're not actually Spurs related at all. I was on a phone call with a car salesman a couple of weeks ago, and at the end of the conversation, I said, "Oh, okay, then, cheers, then, bye." And he went, "Bye, bye, 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 bye." I thought, can you not just say goodbye? It's so much, and this has become a thing now. I've noticed this. Anyway, fuck that. That's in there. The other thing was that occurred to me. I don't know where this came from, but it just churned up something in me. Naming a child after yourself. Okay. And you know, George Foreman, right, the great boxer, he's got 5 sons, George Jr., George III, George IV, George V, and George VI. But what he's cleverly done, he's given them all nicknames so they can tell each other apart. One's called Monk, one's called Big Wheel, one's called Red, one's called Little... Just give them their own fucking names. Give them their own names. It's so much simpler. Stop it, George. And I don't understand this idea that, you know, you have a new child, you have a baby child, and you think, do you know what the world needs? Is a sequel to me. You know, it's so narcissistic. Because that means someone's instantly born into your shadow, right? Look, it's narcissism. I'm not having it. That's in Room 101. All right, moving on. Kev, Feet of Clay. Come on. I like this feature.
Yeah, I know you do, Simon, and that's why I've been dreading this moment because I haven't been able to think of anyone, and I'm going to have to cheat by reversing it a little bit, and whatever the opposite of Feet of Clay is, and because I've been obsessed with Arsenal for the last sort of 12 hours at least, I'm going to go for Charlie George and Ian Wright being decent people. This sort of fits as well with the nice Arsenal fan thing. I don't want them to be decent people. Charlie George was the first footballer I hated when I was a kid because because you had to, as a Spurs fan, you had to hate Charlie George. And turns out, at least now, he's a decent bloke. Ian Wright, I think, has always been a decent bloke, which makes it that even harder. So I've done a sort of feat of the opposite of Clay, and I do apologise, but because I couldn't think of anything.
Feet of
else.
Gold.
Feet
Let's
of
go
gold.
with that.
Feet of porcelain.
Yes.
Even better, Julie. Bit of class there. Bit of class. You've got a Feet of Clay for us, haven't you, Julie Welch?
No.
This is going awfully well.
I told last week, you know, basically any Spurs player, however rude I am about them, I wouldn't sort of condemn them to being Feet of Clay.
Okay.
So stop it.
Well, I can see this feature has already run out of legs. Lee Brown, come on, for God's sake, rescue us.
I get where they're coming from, because especially if you know some of the Spurs players, it puts you in a pretty tricky position.
Yeah.
But, well, you know, my hero for many, many years was Paul Gascoigne. But then, of course, we learned that his conduct outside of football has not been of the highest caliber, and having been, as a child, part of a family that had to tolerate or suffer domestic abuse, that was never nice. So, he's mine.
Okay, good one. I've got a Spursy one for you. Robbie Keane, who he came to us in 2002, prolific goal scorer. He did the old cartwheel, all that stuff, and he was in the League Cup winning team 2008. 2007, he was offered a new contract, and he says, I won't do his accent, I've never been happier than I am here. There's a great spirit at the club, and I want to be part of its future. 2008, he pissed off to Liverpool. And he says, I've been a Liverpool fan all my life, going back to when I was a kid growing up in Dublin. Always had a huge regard for the club. To be given the opportunity to wear the red shirt is a dream come true. 2009 he came back and he said, I never wanted to leave Spurs in the first place. He said it felt like coming home. 2010, we loaned him out to Celtic. He said, this club is massive. I'm a Celtic fan and did not need much persuading to come here. I'm joining the club I supported as a boy. This gets worse, by the way, because in 2011, he went to LA Galaxy. He says, I could not be happier. I've always wanted to play in the MLS. It's a dream come true to play for the Galaxy. I've followed them for years. Robbie, we see you, mate. We see you. He's, to me, that is badge kissing 101, isn't it? It's like anywhere you go is the greatest place, and you pledge your heart to this place for the 5 minutes you're there. Mercenary. Okay, now let's get on to Everton. Kev, as I said in the opening salvo, the crunchiest of crunch matches. A draw would be enough, regardless of what Spam do. They still have to be a good lead side, and we know they're a decent side. But we are Spurs. I don't know why. I was saying this just before we started recording. Us going down, it feels like predestination to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just nightmarish to contemplate those couple of hours, isn't it, on Sunday? Are we capable of beating Everton? Of course, we are. We are. Are they capable of beating us? Yes, of course so. I think West Ham have the hardest of the two games. I don't know. I've always quite liked Everton, actually, or at least they're one of those clubs that, I think ultimately disappoint their fans, and I feel empathy with that, really. So I've never had a problem with Everton. I'm dreading it. I'm absolutely dreading it, and I don't.
Be as you say, the most horrible 90 minutes of our lifetimes.
Yeah,
Lee Brown, give me some hope.
Right, okay. This is where we have to try and turn it round and be positive. It will be tough, and actually, I have family that are from a place called Lydia, which is in Liverpool area, and they're all Evertonians, and they're dreading the thought of maybe relegating us. So they're almost like the Spurs of the North, really, aren't they? I think we just all have to do our bit. Sunday, we have to just turn up and put all this stuff to one side, however we've been feeling recently, however much dread, and just get there and go for it and support them and just give them our full voice. They are going to be tense. Probably the fans will be tense, but if we do that, it's as much as we can do. And I think we will get it done. I think, I don't know why. I just feel that it was always going to come down to the last day and goal difference. As hellish as that will be, I think we will get it done.
Okay, all right. Well, that's all right. You've filled me with faint optimism there. It's interesting, Julie, because I think of all the teams we could play at the end of the season, Everton just strike me as completely anodyne. There's nothing about them. There are no players you fear. Grealish isn't around. They got one or two quite good players, but there's nothing much there, and yet we're at home, and we've won precisely 2 matches at home in the league this season. It's tougher than it needs to be. I don't know. How do you see this one?
I think it would be really lovely if we did get that win at home at last. I'm trying to blot out all the thoughts I'm having, like West Ham actually have an easier prospect against Leeds. I think West Ham could raise their game thanks to the unfortunately very excellent Jared Bowen. But I don't like to sort of discount Everton at all, because their league position is a lot higher than ours. I think that the emotion and the power of the crowd will help, as long as nobody gets on the players' backs.
They're not in great form, Everton. They haven't been, but then we said that about Chelsea.
Yeah, but unfortunately, whatever club is not in great form, we are in even less great form. I just thinking back when Arsenal beat West Ham, I just had that wonderful lightening of the heart, oh, it's going to be all right. And then, of course, it all fucks up again, basically. So I'm going to go into this. I'm trying just to be really detached about it, thinking, well, yeah, we have got home advantage. Everton are a bit meh. Maybe we can do it. Will Solanke be back, or has his leg dropped off for good? If Solanke is back, I think we have a better chance, because whatever you think about him, he is a decent striker. Unlike
Well, there are two things he's got over Richie. One is he can run, and two, he can control the football.
3, he has a brain.
Yes, good point. Good point, Lee. Excellent. Well, look, for what it's worth, I think we're going to beat them. I don't know why, but there we are. We're going to beat them. And I actually think West Ham aren't going to beat Leeds, but we shall see. That would be great, wouldn't it, if we end up with a yawning 5-point gap over West Ham in 17th place at the end of the season. Anyway, well, there we are. Look, my thanks to Lee Brown, Julie Welch and Kev Acott. We will get back to you next week when all will be revealed. Do give us a follow on X/Twitter at Nice One Cyril Pod. We're also on Facebook. You'll find our page somewhere there. And we've got a website, www.niceonecyrilpodcast.co.uk, and every episode is on there. And give us a follow on the podcast platform of your choosing, and you'll never miss an episode. Thank you very much, as always, for your company, and we will see you next week. Come on, you Spurs.
Nice one, Cyril.